What's up, y'all? On this episode of the AI Operator Podcast, we are sitting down with Nicholas, the founder of Reprise AI and creator of one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in the AI automation space. Now, he's got over 32,000 subscribers, and Nick blends technical know-how with real-world application, ultimately helping businesses escape the trap of manual work. Now, we're going to dive into how Reprise AI builds custom tools for service providers, why creating content was a key and early traction for his organization, and what Nicholas sees on the horizon as AI continues to reshape operations and client delivery. Nick, what's up, man? Excited to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. I appreciate all those kind words. And again, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man. We got a brief conversation. You're from North Carolina, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Amazing. Born and raised?
No, I actually just moved down here, from Ohio in January. So
Okay. So small town kid, sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much suburb of Cleveland.
Nice, man. Well, tell me about your journey, because I'm always interested in the entrepreneurial journey. We'll definitely get into AI and a lot of these other topics that we want to talk about and our listeners are listening for. But I always like to start, I talk with mostly entrepreneurs. I think every person on the podcast so far has been an entrepreneur and is in some part of their journey. I've had some older guests, I've had some younger guests. You are on the younger side of the guests. So I would love to hear how you kind of got involved in entrepreneurship. Was this something you always wanted to do since you were a kid? Or did you kind of fall into this? Maybe you started making content. I would love to know more about that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, me myself, it was always wanted to do at least work for myself, do work that I'm genuinely interested in. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I've always known that I wanted to do something that's involves working for myself, if you will. So I guess always inspired by being an entrepreneur, trying to build a sustainable, cool business. So again, who knows what that was going to look like. So I graduated from college in about 2023. And from there, I just got a job as a project manager, like any graduate would. Not as a project manager, but getting a job right after college. So right around this time when I started my job was when AI was more or less becoming big. So ChatGPT was out. I think it was 3 at that point, ChatGPT 3. So most people weren't using it. Now, I really just started using AI within my role. So me, I was dealing with accounts all day, dealing with responding to emails, whatever it may be. So I just started using AI in simple ways. And I had no plans of becoming an entrepreneur. I figured I could just leverage myself from that position to, how most people would usually climb the ladder in the corporate world, just, maybe staying within that position for a year or so, but definitely not leaving my job or anything like that to start up a AI business, because that really wasn't a thing around then. But in those earlier stages, just starting to use AI in my position, automate my job a little bit. So make.com, simple Zapier workflows. It was super foundational stuff, responding to emails, and whatever else it may be. And I figured hey, I'm seeing other people on YouTube do stuff like this. They're showing me how to automate simple stuff. It was Liam Otley. I don't even know who the other guys were. I guess the forefathers of this AI automation agency, this huge trend, kind of establishing it and making it turn into something and saying hey, you could run this as a business. So it was kind of watching those videos and having that validation of building different things and automating my own position. So saying okay, well, if I could automate stuff within this corporate job, then I'm sure there's other people who can actually use this stuff. Also, just again, that validation from watching YouTube was a big encouragement for me. So to say hey, I'm going to start trying to sell solutions, AI consulting, whatever, to other businesses. So that's kind of what drew me to like where I am right now. And yeah, it wasn't like one simple decision where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to quit my job and just like go straight into this. It was a very long, like drawn out thing where I was like kind of working
You
towards
had
like
the
running
side
this
quest a
business.
little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. So just like continuing working my job for it was about like a year and a year and some change before I actually quit and jumped ship to do what I'm doing right now. Um, but yeah, but for me, the biggest thing was just making sure like if I failed for like if everything went wrong for a year, like can I will I have enough money to at least be paying rent? At the time, like I had some cheap apartments, so it was pretty easy to save up like 15K just to make sure that I would be good. Didn't have to like go living back home for a while with mom and pops
Yeah.
or anything like that. But if I actually did move back home for a little while, but um, story for another time. But yeah, that's kind of like my transition into like doing what I do right now and where I really started and kind of where like those ideas popped up.
I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that. I definitely followed like Nate Herc and some of those guys and seen kind of their journey, how they were able to, build such a quick YouTube audience. Because people, I think they inspired a ton of people. And then they had a lot of people that are just interesting. A lot of people sitting on the bench, wishing they would do exactly what you did. It sounds like you actually did it, right? Which is pretty amazing. And what a cool time for you to get into it. Um, I think that was like the golden era. I think it's going to get more and more difficult every single day that goes by. Um, because things are becoming more advanced, more saturated, and there's a lot of great solutions like yourself already out there. I think there's still a ton of opportunity for anyone listening, but I do believe they're going to have to be more niche. They have to be more specific. If they're just general AI solutions, I think it'll be a little tough for a lot of them without previous business experience. But there's also so much opportunity out there. Like everyone wants AI. Everyone wants AI. And something that maybe you've seen, I don't know, something I see from my end, I get a lot of my clients saying, we need to automate this. We need AI. We need AI to do this. And the problem is they don't have a full understanding of like, how it would actually work or should we do this? They just feel like they need to, um, which is a blessing and a curse. Cause I have to unfortunately have the conversation a lot of times with like, hey, that's not really how it works. And like, even if it did, would it really be worth it kind of thing? Um, What's been your experience with business owners that want to implement AI, but maybe really don't need to? Like, have you seen that situation? I see it all the time, so I don't know what your experience has been with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially like when I was first starting out, like I was just trying to like land anything at all, like projects for free, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
So I'd reach out to people and just be like, hey, we build out like, I forget like what my pitch was, but it was something like, hey, we build AI solutions. And some guys would be willing, like, okay, let's jump on a call. And like, we would literally find nothing. Like, we would do an audit and be like, okay, well, your processes look pretty good. So like, we would just sit there awkwardly, like, okay, well, what do we do from here? But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about if you can actually drive leverage. Like, so either I mean, if you're going to be building out a solution for like, if you're going to charge like $5,000, like you want to make sure that it's going to generate some sort of return for them.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it all comes down to like an audit from what I found and like what we do with companies that come to us and like with that exact question. And I'm sure you guys have a similar process, but just going through an audit and just saying like, okay, well, we need to break down all your different processes, all your different all your workflows from there. So really just starting with like a broad foundation, like, okay, let's look at the sales and then let's break down like, what does that actually look like? Where are you guys losing time? And then we get like super granular about everything. So yeah, there's a specific like method that you go about to like determining whether it's worth it to automate these things or whether it's even feasible to do it with what's out there right now. But
yeah,
for the most part, like any business, there's a lot that you can't do. And from what I found, like there's a lot of these companies are like so far behind and using like
Yeah.
dinosaur technology or methods. Like even like law firms I was dealing with the most who were so far behind where a lot of their stuff was still on paper. It wasn't digitized or anything like that, which,
Yeah.
you
Wow.
know, we'll definitely have to get, that's like another story, but
Yeah.
getting their stuff digitized and getting ready for like this next wave to be able to like compete with other firms who are just, um, you know, so much more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, they're outspending, they're out, automating their future pacing and yeah. A lot of people are worried that AI is going to replace certain jobs. I think it's going to replace whole organizations. Not replace, but the people who really embrace it are just going to be so much further ahead, and these companies are going to start to just flounder because their competition is going to be 5, 10, 15 times faster than they will be, even if they're not as good, because they have the support of AI solutions and workflows and all of these different things. Um,
Yeah. Have you
and
seen from, sorry to cut you off, but have you seen from YC, like they're really like putting their efforts on trying to fund full stack companies? Have you seen that where it's like essentially
yeah,
just like somebody just running a company and has like AI running the whole show for them pretty much?
yeah, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's going to get crazy. What are your thoughts on that? Because I definitely have some thoughts on that. What are your thoughts when it comes to a bunch of agents, for example, and the level of like how agentic they are in the near future is also a whole nother conversation. But right now, kind of where it stands, what's your opinion on a company ran by just agents?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see many problems with it myself, but it's inevitable. So, I mean, like my standpoint, I don't put too much thought into it. Like it is what it is. And I mean, it's kind of like what we are trying to do with most of the companies that we do work with. I mean, obviously, like we're not replacing like every single employee. Like maybe like we're starting with like the usually like front office, so like handling calls or whatever it may be. But we're still not like completely replacing them because they can now focus on like different tasks and everything. So I mean, it's still a while that until we get to that point. I would say probably around like later 26, 27 is when that we would kind of cross that path. But I don't know. It's really what we're trying to do within our own company. So yeah, I mean, of course, like we don't have too big of a problem with it, but I don't know. It is pretty strange, but and like we haven't or I haven't worked in the corporate world or like any huge business for an extended period of time. So I've never been like strung out or like obsessed with like having human employees like in an entire company, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I guess it doesn't. What I'm really interested in when it comes to things like this, a good example would be you have an agentic software and you wanted to go log in and buy airline tickets for you, using your Amex card. Well, the challenge with that is like the airline website. Maybe you want to purchase it through like Amex Travel, right? And if Amex doesn't want it to log in and do something on their website. Like technically they don't have to, you know? And it'll stop it. So that's where I'm really interested. We just saw two huge shakeups. I don't know if you've seen this. Faceless YouTube, right? Is being demonetized, which we have our own clients and a lot of other, people that we're close with have companies that teach people how to do YouTube, faceless YouTube channels with AI automation. And now it's demonetized. So I don't know what that means for their business. This literally happened yesterday, I think, the announcement. And the question then is like, okay, if you have marketing teams ran by AI and they're creating copy, is the copy going to be demonetized, right? Is it going to be like devalued or deranked when it comes to, putting it on a website, putting it on Instagram, right? Because they have the opportunity to do that. And that's been a really weird like position for me where I'm like trying to figure out like what is going to happen there because there is still some power in the people, and the platforms. But if the platforms decide to go all AI, that's also another option. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, first of all, I had no idea about that YouTube being demonetized. I'm not even sure like how they're going to like certain like face this content, because like if I don't want to include like my camera on my video, I'm not sure if that's gonna comprise of like what face this technically is. But
It's
in any
yeah,
case,
to clarify that, it's specifically AI generated voiceover,
mm,
and AI generated like UGC. So
oh, okay, that makes sense.
if you're making like a faceless video, but you're the one talking and voicing over it, then like it's okay.
Mm,
How they identify that, I have no clue. But they're also a tech company, so they can
yeah,
probably tell pretty easily. But yeah,
right. Yeah. And like going back to like that other point, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, we've even like ran into like limitations ourselves, like wanting to use a headless browser to basically like scrape a website. But like most of these websites actually don't allow that because they want you to pay for their API or whatever it may be. Sometimes they don't offer an API, and you'll have to like do a bunch of back and forth with the teams. Like, yeah, I mean, it's hard integrating with agents sometimes, especially if you're trying to do like some sort of like scraping or whatever it may be. But yeah,
yeah,
it's like definitely a huge limitation that we've run into ourselves. So we kind of stay away from like the scraping service in a
yeah,
sense. But yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, all we can do is guess at this point, right? And watch what happens and kind of ride the wave as it does. Let's talk a little bit about Reprise. So when we talk about your organization, obviously you kind of have end-to-end AI solutions. You guys do an audit, you look at the organization, you find out where the biggest needle movers are and where stuff is falling through the cracks, where efficiencies lack, and then you optimize that, right? You automate it, you put some AI in there. What are your favorite use cases right now for AI solutions that you see in businesses that are just a no-brainer? Like it's just the easiest thing on the planet to sell because it solves such a big problem.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, right now it's easy to answer that because so we have Reprise, essentially like a parent company, if you will. And then we just started branching into productizing one of the solutions that we've been building out the most. And at this point, like we just turned it into a different company. So I guess it could be referred to as like a sister company
Smart.
of Reprise. And yeah, so CL's done is what it's called. And basically we're just building out voice solutions. Like voice solutions are what people have demanded the most and like what they need the most. They're the most validated and what's just selling. Um, on top of it, it works really well and what we've seen drive the most revenue and leverage inside of a business. So definitely voice solutions. I mean, it can be used in really any business. So our vertical is going after healthcare.
I see.
And besides that, to keep it like a little bit general, if we're going down like the consulting route, like what other companies are looking for, it's a lot of responding to like tickets or like any customer support, whatever it may be, in your email that you are receiving. Just responding to emails in general is a huge request that we have seen. Some other ones is invoice systems. It's a pretty tedious process that people, I mean, it sucks to do. Doing it myself a while ago, like it's not fun, and it's one of those monotonous like processes that it is feasible to automate. So that's another one that we see ourselves trying to think of another one top of mind right now. Um, yeah, really anything with human in the loop. So where it's going to include like some sort of approval from a team member is a big piece. So that usually can be a not an upsell, but like an additional feature that you could tack on to like whatever else you may be building. So if it's
Mhm.
like an invoice system or if it's an email responding system, it's just going to maybe send you a Teams message or a Slack message saying like, hey, um, here's the response or here's the invoice. Does everything look correct? And then sending it off. So it's like moving away from like humans, that human process, but it's like that transition into AI and everything. I think it's like kind of a funny process because like we're still trying to detach from humans, but sometimes like still need to have that little
Yeah.
segment right there. But those are just a few different things. Definitely the voice solutions would be number one right now.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, especially for any organizations, which is most, I would say, that have an inbound phone number. There's obviously all these calls coming in, and that's something we actually talk a lot about when we're consulting with companies, because speed to lead is by far the most important thing. So for anyone listening right now that has some type of front desk employee or a sales organization, um, if you have people inbound calling and you are not picking up that lead right away, like, you're crazy. There's so many solutions right now on the market, between something like Reprise and using voice solutions to, answer and handle the initial call and transfer it off if you need to, or whatever you got to do. Versus, there's just so many solutions. And the amount of companies we see that, the person calls in, they get like a voicemail or something, they leave a voicemail, they don't get a call back for, I mean, if they get a call back in 10 minutes, like, that company's doing pretty good compared to a lot of them. And by that time, if your pipe breaks and you're calling a plumbing company and your house is flooding, what is you? If I call Nick, right, and Nick doesn't pick up, what am I going to do? I'm calling the next person on that website, right? The next person on Google, and I'm going to call that person. And if they pick up, that's the person coming out to my house. So you lose a lead almost every single time that happens, And so I totally understand why there is so much demand there. And it's a pretty straightforward conversation at that point. I would love your thoughts, because this is something that we struggle with a lot of our clients, where they want that solution, but their sales process and their relationship to their clients is much more deep, right? This isn't like a person calling in first time for a quote or something. These are like client relationships that have a very personal touch. There's a lot of, context. And I personally haven't really found a good way to do that. Maybe if you took everything in the CRM and put it into like, Postgres, and like, stored it there and then had it review when that person calls back, like, maybe, but I don't see, at least at this point, I don't see the need for that, when we can go optimize so many other things in the business and save them time there, so that they can like actually handle these high leverage leads. And when I'm talking about that, we're talking like 100K deals, like, or more. Um, so I just don't see a world, especially right now, where you would want AI like touching those leads at all. That's me personally. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely a great point. Start with like the low hanging fruit, and that's like pretty much like what we always do when we first start working with a company. But like at some point, like, okay, well, what next? Like, we maybe want to like start automating and implementing like AI for like what you were just discussing, like maybe setting up a RAG system to talk to like those leads. But yeah, I mean, it has to start with with the basics, and just starting like slowly, going like step by step, like making sure that you um, that everything's actually going to be functional. Obviously, if you're going to be building it out for like talking to your important clients. I mean, like, at this point, some things like AI still has hallucinations every now and then.
Hmm.
So,
I had a
you
pretty
got to
bad
know.
one this morning.
But
And yeah, it was like actually one of the worst ones I've ever seen. This morning. So it's funny you mentioned that. But
yeah, what was that context?
hallucinations. I had it. What was it? Oh, super simple. I gave it my website URL and I said, "Hey, can you just please look at this website and then like write this thing?" And like, it's very very simple. And it had enough memory from my old website and all my other offers that it wasn't actually reading what was on the URL. It didn't analyze that website at all. It just assumed it knew what was on the website and then spit out my old offers for different landing pages, which was like crazy. And I even told it that's not what is on the website. Like, check
Hmm.
again. And then it checks
Yeah,
again and does the same thing. And I was like, wow, that was kind of crazy, because
yeah,
there was
that's
only one headline on the webpage, like one, you know.
yeah, that's usually like where these hallucinations usually stem from, is just too much information.
Yeah.
So like something that we've dealt with clients ourselves is like maybe we have a prompt that's just too in depth. So we have to look to like fine tuning or just going about like a different way to like chunk the data and everything. But yeah, I mean, to like pivot back a little bit, like if you're going to want to include like some piece of AI to respond to like, where you would normally have like a very personable step where you're talking to clients yourself or dealing with any customers. I mean, you have to wonder like, is it needed? Like, is it actually going to drive any leverage or revenue in the business? Or like, will we, if we continue to have it be like this human step right here, as opposed to like transitioning to AI, like what's going to move the needle? And I mean, like at some points, like most points, I would probably argue like to keep that personal touch. Like you could think in like so many different industries, like within finance, if you're hiring a financial advisor, like you probably want a human. But I mean, that's just my 2 cents. And yeah, like why I got into hallucinations in the first place. Like 90% of the time, it's going to work fine as long as you build out the systems properly. If you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, building a proper RAG system or whatever it may be to create like a fine-tuned system. But yeah, it really depends like what you're doing and if it's even going to be worth it to include
Yeah.
like an AI. Like maybe sometimes like actually, I bet a lot of the times, like in particular industries, most people don't want to be talking to AI. It's funny, like I was at like some drive-through like a month ago, and it was just completely AI. And I actually really liked it just because like I didn't feel like rushed.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have to worry, and it actually worked super well. So that's like a perfect example of like using AI, like knowing the market. Like you don't need humans for that. Like
Yeah.
dealing with all the people get pissed off and everything. But anyways,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think of IVR systems. How long have we had that shitty IVR system where you got to press one and then or like, and it never works, and with voice systems like you're building, I think that's one of the biggest needle movers right now, like getting off of a basic IVR system and into, a nice voice agent because it's so much more pleasant to talk to. Like it's way more intelligent. Um, you know, and then, I think there is a point at which you can use AI to communicate with these people, but to your point, what has the most leverage? And for me, AI is best used in high volume situations and repetitive tasks. Now, if you have this exact use case I'm talking about where a client really wanted this, they have like 12 leads a week, right? 12. So I was kind of like, well, what else in your business could we automate where it would give you the extra 20 minutes a week to reply to these 12 people? Like it's not a huge needle mover. It's going to take you more time to build an AI to fix this than it would to do anything else. Now, you mentioned something that I want to close on because we are coming up on time. I want to be respectful of your time, Nick. But you mentioned finding someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to AI. And I've had quite a few people, clients that hire us for, again, not AI. We don't really do much AI specifically. And they come in, they're like, I just spent $20,000 on this AI agent. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, must be pretty cool. And I look at it and it's terrible, right? It was a scam, basically. Like, and this is happening more and more often, which is really unfortunate to see. And then it kind of kills my prices and stuff because they're scared to buy anything from me because they just got scammed out of $20,000 and an AI system that I could have built in 20 minutes. But like, what is your experience? Have you seen that? Is it frustrating for you as a business owner who is building quality systems and AI? Do you think it's giving, AI agencies a bad rep? What's been your experience there, if any?
yeah. I mean, I haven't had like any firsthand experiences with stuff like that. I mean, first of all, like I would love to meet the person that actually sold that system and hear what they had to say to get them to buy it. They must have some killer marketing or killer pitches. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I haven't dealt with that, but I mean, it's just
That's good.
inevitable. Like if you look at like different, like this agency space, like SMMA or e-commerce
Yeah.
agencies, whatever, like maybe not e-com, but so many people have been screwed over by like SMMA, like people saying like they'll drive these results. They haven't gotten those results. Like it's inevitable to happen. Like there's going to be some tire kickers like within this space. Something like it is what it is. But Yeah, I mean, it really just comes down to like awareness and understanding, like having that like relationship with the client, like knowing what you're going to be building out. The business owner, like having some doing their due diligence and like making sure that the person on the other side has the technical know-how and can actually deliver these solutions. And that's like a huge thing. Like, as you know, like from having a brand on YouTube, like people watch your content and they trust you. They see like
Yeah.
you can actually build out these solutions or whatever other use case that you know what you're talking about. But I mean, that's just like one of the many different benefits of having a personal brand. But that
Oh,
kind of like
YouTube leads are the best leads on the planet, man. I've had so many
100%.
leads that quite literally they book a call from YouTube, they hop on a call. I'm like, hey man, what do you need? Oh, I watched this video and like I want that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like that costs this much. And they're like, done. I'm like, do you need anything? No, I want that. And it's like, okay, I'll send over the contract. You know, it's like, oh, we don't even have a sales conversation. It's like, I just want that. And it's fantastic. Um,
A
but cool,
perfect
man. I
example of
know.
like you reap
Oh,
what you sow.
what was that?
I said it's just like a perfect example of like you reap what you sow. So like if you
Yep.
post like an invoice system, I'm gonna have people reaching out to me like buying that system. It's crazy.
That's amazing, man. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a hard stop here. So the what we were just talking about is making sure that you are um questioning who you're hiring for, building AI agents and taking this is a huge responsibility inside of your organization. You don't want to make a mistake. Now, that doesn't mean that you should have cold feet. It doesn't mean that you should move through the process slowly. If you're a business owner, you obviously have to move with speed, right? And if you want to beat your competitors, you need to be implementing AI. So it's not a question of like how. It's a question of finding the right people. Nick, for example, is a fantastic person to solve these solutions. You can find him on YouTube. Nick, where else can they find you? We'll have your YouTube in the description below so they can find you. Where else can they find you?
Yeah, YouTube is where I'm the most active, but of course I post a little bit on Instagram. Really any short form platform. I believe if you just look up Nick Puru or Nicholas Puru, I have a
Perfect.
few different handles, but you can find me
Yeah. We'll
throughout there.
link it in the description below. And something else for the older audience, this is something that's kind of funny. A lot of these AI agency guys are young. And transparently, they will run circles around all of you guys. So never count those guys out just because of the age. The stuff I have seen these guys building is just next level. So Nick, thanks so much for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you. Everyone, check out his YouTube. Hit him up for any AI solutions that you need. And let's make some more money. Let's make some sales and let's optimize our processes and be as efficient as possible so we can keep scaling our businesses. All right,
Jordan, awesome, man. Appreciate you for having me.
cool. Cheers, Nick.